Nader Labib, founder of Lyrasense, co-founder.
Co-founder of Lyrasense.
Thanks for coming today.
It's a pleasure being here.
So, Nader, can you just go straight to the point and tell us what Lyrasense is?
Yeah, sure. Lyrasense, you can think of it as a new kind of platform that is mostly targeting data scientists and companies. And the idea behind it is pretty simple, to kind of allow them to use satellite imagery whenever they're making critical decisions on a global scale.
Could you put an example end-to-end of this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can use Lyrasense to track ship movements, for example, or port activity. If you're in the sourcing business, like in agriculture or so on, you can predict yields of different farmlands to kind of evaluate where you would source certain products from. Or if you're obviously very infrastructure heavy, like in the oil and gas sector, you can obviously monitor large scale infrastructure using satellite imagery. We make it super seamless and simple for people to work with such data.
What I'm thinking is, so you said ship movements, predict yields, and the satellite imaging for a large infrastructure company. But if we go one by one, I've already read and seen about the ship movements and about the yield prediction. And
Yes.
I'm talking about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Already, like, we take the data from the satellite and we predict, da, 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 da. So what's the point of doing another company doing this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. It's a tough one too, but truth is,
Just to get it at the beginning.
truth is, for so long we've been relying on like a small pool of experts to be able to pull this data, run the analysis, and then give you the final insight or so on that you can act upon. What we've been seeing over the past couple of months now, which is not, it's all very recent, is that companies are more interested to do that in-house. And these will be our target customers. So companies that have data science teams that want to unlock these signals or reach these insights on their own. A lot of times it gives them kind of a competitive edge when they're not subscribing to an off-the-shelf solution that everyone else has access to, but they're able to combine such imagery with whatever data they have inside, like financial models, etc. That's normally where the biggest value from satellite imagery comes from. Not when it's a standalone solution, but when you combine it with other types of data that it's almost invisible that you're using satellite imagery.
Got it. I mean, this raises multiple questions.
Yes, I can imagine.
But first, before triggering about the data conversion and the small language models, etc., you said it was done by experts, and now it's going to be done by data scientists who don't need to have this particular expertise of understanding GNSS data and processing it, I guess, and now they just have it in an easier way.
Yeah, more or less. Like our end goal is to eventually allow almost like strategists and analysts within companies to reach these insights and like something that they can act upon as seamless and as fast as possible. The way we're doing it today is we're still keeping a human in the loop just because a lot of these decisions are very critical for the industries we work with. But yeah, we're moving it from having an external consultancy or a solution company build a custom solution for you to being able to do it in-house in a quite an easy way.
So you would be replacing specific GNSS teams, or would you be replacing consultancies, as you mentioned, or both? Or
it's a mix of both, I would say. Like we do integrate directly with some model providers, third-party solution providers, etc. So the way we're playing it is slightly different. That we're not directly replacing, for example, the consultancies, but we're giving them also a platform where they can develop their solutions in a way to reach the end customers. It's almost like an Airbnb approach to the problem. It's something that we're trying that hasn't been done that way in the past.
Okay, but then I want to understand a bit more this analogy with Airbnb, because the key of Airbnb is that it's given a platform directly to the consumers without any guy in between. And what you're saying is, no, the guys in between, the consultancy will remain, probably because they have the sales force, I guess, that you don't have. They have the salespeople and the contacts, I guess, that for you would be very costly to get there. But why do you say is the Airbnb? I don't get.
I think the analogy comes from the fact that Airbnb, for example, took care of the whole payment structure and then linked the owner of a place directly with the end user. and we're somewhat doing the same. So we've automated and taken care of everything to do with the infrastructure, getting the data integrations and the deployment into an application. But what we're doing is now the consultant's role would be more on building the solution very quickly and easily pushing it on the platform, which is then right away exposed to the end customer. So it's not they don't become a consultancy in that sense. It's almost like more consultancies could shift into being solution developers, if you wish.
So
I don't know if that was clear enough.
yeah. What I want to go is to go a little bit deeper on the example. So let's take one example that you could talk about, and it could be ship movements, yield prediction, or the large parts of the Earth satellite imaging, whatever you want. Actually, which one you want from these three?
I don't mind. We can have almost a very generic example. Could be, for example, for a consultancy to build such solution in-house, they have to have almost like a team of experts to do with the data ingestion, all the data pipelines, and then like machine learning experts with PhDs in remote sensing, something to understand the data. And then you have like the entire DevOps team that is then building a solution or a custom solution on top of the data. Right now, the infrastructure part and the DevOps part is completely taken care of by Lyrasense. So they might as well just use Lyrasense, build their solution, and monetize it off the platform. On the other side, we have the end customer or end user, big, large oil and gas company, for example, where they would need multiple solutions for different use cases or applications for such data.
So, for example, but I guess one key part is that this data is limited because the amount of satellite data in the planet, I guess, is not, or is it very abundant, or is it?
It's a very good question. It's increasing at a very fast rate. Like if you think about, 10 years ago, it was very limited, but now we're seeing more and more private companies put constellations in orbit. Not everything is production ready or available for everyone yet, but the market is definitely heading into that direction.
Okay, because I'm just trying to think of a pipe. I'm building the pipe. So you have the data. So this data comes from satellites.
Yes.
But can you just guess like how many satellite providers data are in the world or in Europe, or that provides data about Europe?
We generate hundreds of terabytes every day.
Okay.
That number is only going to increase. And like right now, what we're seeing, actually, if you think about it, we're generating more data on a daily basis, and it's only increasing, but it's not seamlessly translating into value-added services and applications.
So who's producing this data?
Providers.
Providers that they produce it. Why? Right now, like what's the case for them?
Yeah, a lot of times they have one or two business cases, like an end application that they build the constellations around.
But it's super expensive, not to build a constellation and send it to space.
The biggest value is in the application layer, and that's why we're starting there. A lot of them rely on these consultancies or solution builders to take this data, turn it into something valuable, and sell it to an end customer. And what we've been seeing is that now there is that tendency from an end customer to want to move closer to the data directly, to build solutions, build their own dashboards, their own applications with this data directly.
We have a lovely view in here. So you need to have a view of this part that we see of the land. And how many offers can you get, let alone yet the expertise that you need to process that data properly? But what's the offer that would be like, I want to get all the infrastructure, all the data, satellite images from the tower of O2 to, I don't know what we could see, let's say not even to the Alps, but pre-Alps. And I want those fields and imagery, I want all of that. How many people can offer you that?
From providers.
Yeah.
There's quite a few. So it depends how you want to look at it. It gets a bit technical here.
Let's go.
So it depends what kind of data you're interested in. But there are multiple providers that you can pull this data from. And I think maybe
multiple, like thousands, hundreds, tens?
No, tens probably.
Tens.
That number is going to increase, but for now it's sufficient for most use cases. But then the interesting part that Lyrasense brings comes in. The first aspect or first value add that we have is the whole understanding what data makes sense for what application. I think for our customers, a lot of them would start with a very simple question, like you just asked, like, hey, I need to monitor that port. I need to check if that pipeline is damaged or if there's a potential risk from sand or whatever the use case may be. But it's just that kind of statement that they understand what needs to be done, but then they don't know, do I need SAR imagery, hyperspectral imagery, this type of data, that type of data, where do I even get it from? And these are the kind of things that we abstract out already today. Like you could simply say, hey, this is my use case. And right away from that location, what we do, and that's completely automated, you're able to tell them, hey, for that location and for that use case, these data types or imagery types make most sense. And these are the providers that could offer you that data.
Okay, so then I'm going to try to pick one. Again, I'm going to try to, again, keep going a little bit more to the case. So you want to see if one infrastructure is damaged. Infrastructure that is, obviously, you can see it from the space, because if it's underground, you cannot see it, I guess.
To some degree, yeah.
So we have some kind of pipe, as you mentioned, or something, and we want to know if it's damaged. So before Lyrasense, either you send someone that on a scooter, they go and check the whole pipe and tells you need to send someone to repair in here and here.
Yeah.
Right? That's how it was. And now with Lyrasense, it's like, no, I'm going to tell you need to choose provider X, because provider X will go at the level of the meter of definition, so you can see actually if the pipe is really damaged or not. And then you don't need to send the guy with a scooter. You just check it. And if there's nothing. But if not, I can tell you exactly, even real time. That's another question, because then it's more expensive.
Another topic, yeah.
That's another. Okay. So let's imagine that you check the images monthly, weekly, daily.
No, it's daily, more than once a day if you wish.
Daily or more than once a day, but not real time. So daily, you have this radiography of the pipe. So what you need is high definition. No, who's providing you the best definition? Yeah, the best image definition of something. No.
Yeah. Of course, if you're doing kind of like that almost visual assessment of it, then yes, that would be one easy way. And to be honest, a lot of our customers or ones that are getting started with such data, they prefer that almost like a visual inspection like of application where they want to zoom in. I think that's the question we get asked a lot. How much can I zoom in to see what I'm interested in? But yeah, like basically you tell them what data makes sense, where to get it from, and then you get that data and it's presented to them in a workspace.
Because otherwise, I guess that if you're a large company that have access to infrastructure, you already know more or less about this data. Therefore, you already had this data, but maybe you had thousands of images that you need to check because the pipe is super long. Then you need to have people there checking. So what you say now is you don't need people to check it. You need me to tell you. And what is the difference in cost?
I mean, it's a very use case specific kind of setup, but definitely what we do is whether the end customer has their own data or not, we do provide access to the data. We don't charge for it. We just make it accessible through Lyrasense. So it's pretty straightforward to the end customer.
But they need to pay to the provider.
They pay to the provider. We just facilitate that.
And you don't charge a fee to the provider?
No, our charging is consumption based. So it's either compute or data throughput. So not really reselling the imagery in that sense.
But if there are different people offering this, you're a referee to all this data.
We do give our customers right now the choice if they have 2 or 3 different providers that could offer that data for that specific application. They have that choice of whether going for one of them or even potentially bringing their own contract. That's a possibility. But then what we do is that we kind of abstract out everything to do with downloading, connections, integrations, whatever. I mean, we're abstracting the problem right now. Like we're making it super simple, but it's a bit more detailed than that. Then you get this data directly on a kind of a collaborative workspace where they're able to play around with the data. So it's for a data scientist, it looks like any other, almost like a data science tool.
Do they receive a dashboard? What do they receive?
So first it's like a development kind of phase before you move into the dashboards. And that's where whether you want to train a model visually, like select some, like segment things or classify certain things if it's visual, or you just run one-time analysis, basically like look at the data, for example, look at how vegetation changed or look at how the building footprint has increased or whatever the use case is.
And this is a natural language query in Lyrasense.
Yes, you could obviously do the entire thing, process end to end without writing a single line of code.
So ChatGPT like Blue.
Almost, yes. But since we target a lot of data science teams within organizations, they also have the freedom to completely customize this and build on Lyrasense. I think one of the biggest value adds at this point is obviously it's all like an AI co-pilot kind of experience where you don't have to rewrite like simple things like, hey, fetch the images, stitch them together, just collect them, put them here, cover clouds, whatever. These things you can just completely offload to Lyrasense. But it gives you visibility on what's happening also in the analysis, just to make sure that it's following whatever standards you have in your organization, or if you have preferences, etc. So it's super collaborative. You can tag people from different teams. What we see is that a lot of times they would bring a subject matter experts from, let's say you're looking at something to do with crop yields or whatever. You would bring someone who's an expert in agriculture or would know a bit more about that domain than a generalist data scientist. But right now you could all kind of speak the same language. Everyone can collaborate on the same space. And that will be the second bucket in kind of like, if I'm putting all the value adds in buckets. And the third one will be just in literally like in a single click, you're able to share this either as a report, which sounds very trivial, but it's actually solving a massive pain point, or a dashboard or an internal application. So you kind of remove that third path. So of moving, like now you've done the analysis, normally this is the case, I've done the analysis, I have some notebook with a bunch of experiments, a model that I developed, and now someone like in management needs a production dashboard or something.
At some point, someone needs a report.
It gets pretty messy. Like right now, you now have to go create some sort of an IT ticket, get DevOps involved, they rebuild what you've done, and it's a quite lengthy process.
Wait, but maybe I got stuck a little bit maybe, because I got stuck with this imagery that you have in different types and forms and whatever, and that they tell you where the pipe is damaged. I'm still there. Okay. So I mean,
I left you like there.
No, like I understand what you mean later of the standardization kind of the data, and then that's the data scientists can play around, blah, blah, blah. But I'm thinking about the report, so, and all this Copilot experience that you can play with it, blah, blah. But at some point, if I understood the case correctly, is boom is pretty real. So that is something you can see or that you can explain very easily. It's not something. It's very visual. It looks to me that it's very visual.
It could be very visual, or it could be a type of data that becomes a bit more tricky. But let's stick to the visual because it's easier now.
It's easier for me. Yeah. So, what I would imagine in a report is like, Mr. X, Y, and Z. The pipe was. This is the image of the 1st of January. That's how the pipe was. This is the 2nd of January. That's how the pipe was. That you see now is leaking. That's the problem, and that's the report.
More or less like that, yeah. I mean, the report that is generated is a bit more detailed, but that's super customizable as well. Like right now, it kind of identifies what the methodology was, what the data was, etc. So there's more
gotta get
detail.
into the details of.
Yeah.
But the methodology is about, is this image fake, or what is the methodology about?
That's a completely different topic, but
how
how the image itself is analyzed, what tools have been used, what pre-built models or etc. have been used, how this image was treated basically to get to that final assessment.
So that means that then the image could be treated in wrong ways.
Yeah, that's possible, and that's why
that shows something that it is not.
That's why. Exactly, like today we're able to go from like a simple prompt all the way to deploy an application.
Okay.
But yeah, like you really need that, especially for a lot of these critical use cases. That's why we need a human in the loop in their side, because you need that kind of like, hey, we need to make sure this is following our protocol or our the way we analyze things or the indices we like to use to evaluate certain things, etc. Of course, if we're talking about other critical use cases, if we speak about defense or whatever, it becomes more tricky because you cannot just make a whole decision out of completely.
Okay, I was trying to stick with the easier case that for me was the pipe that is damaged, but of course it can be. Do you have any example of a report that you can share?
Of generated out of Lyrasense? Yes, yeah.
Because then we can put it like there in the link on the description below so people can check the reports if
Sure,
they.
I mean, it's super customizable. I don't know if it's
I
too
know, but there's
relevant.
like, or two, or like three different
Yeah.
reports. Like, look, but the what I mean is that at the end of the day, the output is I got some image and I got some results and some actions need to be taken because of these
Yes.
images.
Yeah.
And this will know how it will look in a report. I'm curious to see how
Yes.
how it
Yeah. I
shows.
mean,
So,
this is there. Our dream is a bit beyond that.
uh-huh.
Like the whole industry relies on some. At the end of the day, it's a report or a map, and then some expert looks at it. What we're seeing is like there's a massive opportunity if you're able to also allow intelligent systems, whether another AI agent or another autonomous system, to actually also understand what's in these imagery. In other words, you can potentially connect it with an autonomous system of, let's say, drones or robots or whatever that could also act on such data as well. Like to us, that's when you're starting to actually open this up.
Okay, so then the process would be the pipe.
Let's go back to the pipeline.
The pipe is damaged. Some drone needs to go and paint it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
put it
then
as
the,
simple
the
as I
drone
can.
would fly to that location and
Okay,
do
so it
that.
would be 1 day
Let's say.
delay or whatever it takes for the drone to arrive there to
Yeah.
the location, so whatever, and then it gets there, it
Yeah,
painted.
like I mean, this is a very hypothetical situation.
Okay, this is not
but
yet.
yes.
It's far from being in production. Yet. But the
it-
part that is in production now is that there's something, fix it. And what you want to do is the whole chain. Like there's something, I would fix it if you let me.
Yes, I mean we also like if you look at it from a different angle, like if you look at financial companies or whether it's insurance or underwriters or even look at hedge funds, a lot of times they want to look
I didn't
at
expect that.
so many different let's call it signals, just so that it's more understandable. You want to look at like oil tankers and their movements. You want to look at port activity, but at the same time, you want to look at a production facility that belongs to another oil company or producer or whatever. And you basically want to use this data to decide what your positions are, what you're going to do, whatever that is, the use case is. A lot of times you want this to be controlled, built in house. It's what gives you a competitive edge. And right now, to do that, it's you will have to invest heavily in building an entire team that is able to understand this data, the tooling around it,
Okay.
all the contracts with the data providers, etc. And what we're offering them is a very simple to use platform. Hey, you know what? You have some data scientists. Let them play around, experiment here.
I like the heads found case. So then I'm going to stick to that.
Okay.
So if I have a hedge fund, I can go and say, kind of an agent type like, I want to know the activities in these different ports in this specific country, because maybe that's an indicator of early deceleration or acceleration of that country.
Possibly, yes.
Things that you will need to compare previously
Yes.
of what happened before different years, and you don't have that data. But I guess you need to
For
build
some,
the data.
yes, you can have archived data as well. You can have it depends on the providers, but yes, this is possible.
And then you are ahead of the market, so then you can make decisions based on the
Yeah.
activity that you only have, because you are the only one who decided to track port activity as one of the
Yeah.
macroeconomic indicators of a country. For
Exactly.
example.
I mean, at the end of the day, there are two things that we're reducing. So the cost to insight, if you wish, and the time to insight. Like instead of whether you're going through consultancies or different teams, different departments to just get to that same, hey, is it improving? Is it accelerating or not? That's what you really want to know. The cost to get there and the time to get there is significantly reduced by Lyrasense.
Cost of insight and time to insight. So if I'm this hedge fund, can you make a guess of how like what would be the ACV? I know that then you can say it could use thousands of imagery per day or little, but what are the common ACVs? Is there a commonality or not even? Because
it would depend. It would be very specific to the use case and the frequency of that that insight they want to or signal they want to get. So it would vary a lot. I don't think there's like a one general number, but I would say it's in the six figure easily.
I imagine. Okay, and by the way, we are talking about all of this, and you have a PhD in the matter, which is something I don't have.
I actually have a PhD. We didn't do a proper
Yeah, true. So you
but,
you can please talk about yourself
yeah.
a little bit
So
and how did you
I
get
actually
here?
started on the hardware side of things, so it's quite interesting. More on the autonomous systems. That's what fascinated me. So robotics, drones, etc. Before it became a thing. I mean, now we're seeing it. So back then it seemed like sci-fi. But then I after my master's work, which was more on the aerospace domain, so I kind of moved a bit space technology, astrophysics. It was around testing and building satellite payloads, so it's still hardware related. I was then a first hire in a startup that was bringing space technology into the renewable energy space, and it was very hardware focused, but there was an element of software in that product. It never commercialized. 3 years in, it didn't really work. I still believe in the product, but I came out knowing two things. One, I'm definitely doing this again. And two, I needed to make a hard pivot into software because it's very obvious that it's going to disrupt that industry. And that was just a brilliant time to join a team in Luxembourg, actually, and is now behind one of the biggest supercomputers in Europe. And the idea was I wore two hats. So one, obviously PhD, it was very applied. So it was more on the distributed systems, distributed compute, data handling, like on a large scale, which is something very relevant to the data we work with. But on the other side, it was working closely with the Ministry of Economy to attract space companies mostly from the US into Europe, like the likes of Spire, etc. So it was a very interesting time to kind of jump into that kind of field. But I guess it was always something inside me growing up. Like I grew up in a developing country, yeah. So here there's a lot of luxury that people don't realize. But basically there will be a lot of floods and there's no means of knowing where people are. Like you would rely on a radio channel or whatever to say, hey, someone is reported that they're stuck in that house, they need to be rescued. It's sad. And when I was doing my master's, I think it was around the time that the European Space Agency was launching and really pushing the whole Copernicus, which the whole space program and
What was
Earth
the year?
observation. I think it was around 2012 to 2014. That was the time. And it was when I started to realize, hey, this data is going to be available for everyone. It's available for free. Everyone in the world could have access to it. Yet people are struggling in so many parts of the world. And a lot of times it's due to these complexities. You don't even know where to go get the data, how to use it, and how to build something. And a lot of times now you realize that it's heavily reliant on that expert that understands one or two use cases in the market that tries to build a solution. But actually, we are trying to move that focus to the end user directly to allow them to answer their own questions and remove the complexity in getting access. So that was kind of the trigger moment. And when I met my co-founder, everything fell in place and it seemed perfect because he comes from a completely different world. We had a lot of overlap on the robotics side, but he's seen things from the software and software infrastructure and how things are built in modern tech, which is not there in the space industry. We're still way behind, if you think about it. And it's this kind of combination of bringing kind of the understanding of the hardware and space side with the software world. And we both had that passion for empowering people. I think we've seen it in our previous lives, different corporate startups, etc., where we were deploying these kind of different tools, not space related, but seeing how when you use technology to empower people, not technology for the sake of building great tech, it actually has that kind of impact with like kind of this eye-opening. It's like, wow, I can do that in such a short amount of time or whatever. And we wanted to bring that experience into this kind of industry.
And thanks for the intro because it should have been maybe earlier. No, I think it's fine like this because you need to talk about the stuff and then people may want to know about you. But then there's the question that it was going to come eventually sooner or later. So the thing now is large language models, they don't know how to understand satellite data. How difficult would that be, you think, for Perplexity to say, well, you can choose from these models or you can choose from satellite model, GNSS model, and you click there, but they need to provide you the source as well. So it would be a bit more... So you don't think that there would be a competitor in this field anyway?
I mean, the whole industry is moving at a massive rate today. Like
Uh-huh.
it's been stagnant for, I don't know, 20 years, and suddenly it
Just
started moving.
compressing.
Yeah, it's a nice way of putting it. But yeah, there's a whole surrounding aspects that you have to make sure works so that you can get to that solution. So understanding the imagery is one, knowing that it exists, knowing where to get it from, and the infrastructure around that, and how you manage to do such large scale compute process in a very short period of time in an optimized way, and present that to your end customer. Our dream is to have this kind of like sitting nicely in an IT tech stack in companies, and they're able to use satellite imagery just as another type of data
Yeah.
within their applications, and kind of seamlessly integrates into decision making.
So it's not any problem for you. Like you don't believe that they're a threat in
Um,
competition.
Not immediately, and actually, we're leveraging everything that is advancing in that whole world. Like it's almost like riding that wave, if you wish. A lot of the LLM side come into or become useful for us when it comes to understanding what the user wants. So that kind of like interaction phase, and the better they improve, the better the experience is for our end customers. But a lot of the chunks done in between is not necessarily something that you do with LLMs.
Mm-hmm. And what I was also thinking is we've been talking about the data, like ingestion, let's say, kind of a little bit,
Yes.
and then you have to put this layer of interpretation and natural language processing. Do you use? Have you built internally something, or like do you connect with? Do you have a rerouting system or something? Like how do you build that part?
For like the analysis of
The
the image,
analysis.
it's a mix. So we obviously have a lot of in-house built models, etc. But that's when that aspect we touched upon earlier comes to play. So what we've been seeing is that there's a lot of solution providers out there, maybe building very specific, let's say, building very specific models for flare detection, or for something to do with biodiversity, or for a very
Okay.
specific type of crop or whatever. um, we're able to build that partnership with them, and what that means is that their model could become part of the toolbox of our solution. And then when a user from our side requests something that would leverage or need to leverage such a model, it would use that as a tool.
Do you need to pay them?
That would be a transactional model, yes. So it's pretty straightforward in that sense. So it's almost treated like a data provider.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I'm trying to think who from that simple interaction of a data analyst just getting image to try to fix a pipe or to understand the activity in a port. I'm trying to think how many people is taking a cut, because then you said they don't pay Lyrasense for subscription, they pay per use.
yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah, I mean, it's right now the way we package it is that just to make it under like easy to also estimate for customers, we have like bundles almost. It's like a commit to consume packages. So you could see it as almost a subscription with a minimum credit limit.
okay. The
That
maximum as well.
like a kind of a base credit,
Okay.
monthly credits that you get for the different personas. So we don't do it feature based. It's not a per seat subscription in that sense, but you kind of like identify, I would like to work without interacting with a lot of tech, and these are the kind of use cases I need. We would recommend the bundle. We have three, so starter,
Okay.
pro, and teams. It's pretty straightforward, and it kind of gives you an idea of what you can build with Lyrasense. But obviously, a lot of times we would see that the usage would grow.
How much are the subscription?
So it ranges between $50 a month to 5,000 for like bigger teams.
So 50 is I guess the initial, and you said 5,000.
Yeah, it's
Plus.
monthly commitment. So plus, yeah, these credits go towards the compute, the data ingestion, whatever you use it for.
Yeah, got it. So how much of it is margin?
So obviously, it depends on which aspect. I mean, if you want to go into that detail,
Would love to.
it's between 20 to 80% depending.
Oh,
And
nah,
it's
that's
probably
so
going
wide.
to increase. So it depends whether it's used for data ingestion, for kind of like the data throughput, or
Got it.
Lyrasense specific compute related.
Mm-hmm. And how is the go-to-market to this? Then, like, how do you capture the clients? Or do they come for you, or no?
I
They
mean,
don't.
disclaimer: we're super young, so things will
True, true,
change.
true, true. But I know you
um,
have some customers
we
already.
have quite a lot of inbound, more than we can serve. So yeah,
Okay.
I think we just hit kind of a pain point in a certain type of industries. Um, but yeah, so far it's been inbound.
Is it worth saying, by the way, as a following the disclaimer, that you're raising a round
Yes, yeah,
now?
we're actively raising. Yeah,
Do you want to give any information about the round?
sure. I mean, we're raising a 2.6 million US dollars. We already have quite a number committed, and we're discussing with a lot of VCs now that
Yeah.
would love to have on board.
I know you had a peak of interest lately. So that's good. Do you think, by the way, this, so now we're 1st of
I don't know
December
when this would.
recording
Yeah.
this. We probably will release this before Christmas,
Okay.
even earlier.
All right.
So do you think by then you will have the round closed and should announce it,
We'll
or?
see. We'll see. How it goes.
You
Yeah.
know,
I don't
it's
know.
very difficult to commit.
Yes.
Okay, but we were talking about the go-to-market. So
Yes.
you were saying that you have more than what you can chew so far. So you were raising this round to hire also more people, or?
Yes, we're currently the bottleneck. Like, there's a lot of things that if
Mm,
we have in place, we'll be able to significantly grow
yeah.
in terms of usage as well. So that's one bottleneck that we have right now.
Mm,
But yeah, like so far, it's mostly industry related conferences and events.
okay.
Like, we target really end customers, these kind of data science personas in companies.
So you just go and pitch to the, what's the
It just
stakeholder there?
it's almost always data science, AI, head of data science, head of AI,
Head of
CTO,
AI, there will
or
be many.
organization. So it's kind of that, it takes a different naming depending on different industries, but it's more or less the team that is like super underwater, building internal solutions for the
Yeah.
company.
And do they have a budget, a specific budget? Like, I'm trying to think if this is the type of team. Normally they don't even, no, I guess they have budget, no?
Yeah, they do, and it's a lot of times there's that interest to use such tooling because it enables them to do a lot more with less, let's say, human resources on the team. Um,
Okay, but then you're not super clear yet then if you're going through a partner model or a direct sales model, no? Because this that you're talking about the exhibitions, it looks like a direct model where you sell
yes, it
straight.
is mostly going to be that. Partnerships is almost on the data provider side, so not really on the go to market.
You should talk to Christoph that was here like 2 interviews ago, that they scaled the business to 100 million
Wow,
ARR in partner sales only.
nice.
So he was, but of course, you always have different points of view for the same thing. He was in the telco industry as well. Okay, so you decide for going directly straight.
Yeah.
And, okay.
I mean, our initial assumptions were that such sales cycles are going to be super long, but what we're seeing with specific industries is that it's moving significantly faster than we anticipated. We'll see how that holds up for over the long run, but so
Yeah.
far it's very clear. Like, we have that very strong signal from the market that this is solving a pain point that they've had for some time in these industries.
Okay. So these first clients that you cannot serve, you met them there in these fairs, exhibitions. Nice.
Or it was purely inbound. Yeah, in that case.
Nice. Got it. And how do you plan? How do you plan to do the next hiring? Because this is something that interests me a little bit. This is the culture of the startup and the hirings, etc. Now they use more. By the way, FTEs, you're two
Yeah, I mean, two
plus
two-
contractors. Let's say.
two more supporting us. Yeah.
Mm. So the thing is, normally I bring people. I feel that they have larger companies. So in this case, I think you don't need to care about that because the culture is you and your co-founder and how you perform.
Yeah.
But if you plan to scale, like, is it something that bothers you, or how do you think about this, all the culture topic?
Yeah, it's very, very important question. We talk about it quite often, actually, my co-founder and I.
Mm.
We have very similar values, and we try to like kind of inject that into everything we do, even on our product. And it's one of the things whenever we speak with a potential, like, we're not right now actively hiring, but we do speak with profiles that we'd love to have on the team. And one of the things that we kind of look for is this kind of cultural fit. Um, Obviously, it's like growing from 2-3 person team to a 10 person team is very different than having 100
Yeah.
FTE. It's a very different story. For right now, obviously, in the first kind of like extension to that core team, they're going to be super close to us. So I think a lot of the what we do as founders is kind of carried over to the rest of the team. At least that's how we see it. Um, where I mean we've had bad experiences in our previous lives that we don't want.
Like?
I don't know, things like we are not super strict about how you work or where you work from or what hours you put in. We're super results focused. No micromanagement. Kind of like we obviously look to hire people that are kind of like almost able to read our minds, like A players, if you wish. And a lot of times, it's kind of empowering them is the best way to go than telling them what needs to be done. So that's kind of what we look for.
How would you identify them in the position that you're in now?
It's quite easy actually to find. Like, I mean, you one thing that inspires us a lot when we speak with people is that they take a few ideas, or even kind of like even before the chat we have or the coffee meeting we have, whatever. They're already kind of like taking our idea and expanding it into some, and that's something that we definitely appreciate.
Where did you find those
That
profiles?
yeah, I mean, we don't actively look for them, but within our network, we had a few chats
Okay.
that was. This is the kind of thing that really that we really enjoy. Like when we see that excitement in someone's like even if they're not from the industry, and that's also kind of like a bit sidetracking now, but we don't have to have someone from the remote sensing or
Okay.
geospatial domain. We're actually super open to having someone bring in very different perspectives. That's how we started. And I think that's even more valuable to us than kind of following what has been done in the industry for quite a while. So we're super interested when someone from, I don't know, some medical tech company or whatever is curious to know what we're doing. Believe it or not, there's quite a lot of similarities in terms of like handling a lot of data, the whole mess around it, etc. So it's always very nice to see how they've been doing it in that industry, what's new there, and if there's kind of like lessons learned that we can combine. So we're not super strict on that as long as
Yeah.
people want to learn. And you can really see that when someone is very excited to know more about what you're building or ask like these questions. Oh, can we also do that? Is this possible? Is that possible? I think that's what we love most.
Nice. I guess that maybe at the beginning it's easier
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
because also you control it a little bit, and
Yes.
it's very network related,
Yes.
as you said. And so, if you talk about a little bit about the vision that you want to have this end to end of kind of fixing the problem, but I'm thinking that in the case of the hedge fund, there's no problem to fix. You just need to deliver the data.
I mean, the tooling around building it entirely
Yeah.
end to end.
My question is, how do you, building on what you said about the integration, further integrations with maybe even hardware and things like that, how would you envision the company 3, 5, 10 years?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, 3 years, it's definitely the whole thing is end to end. You're able to accelerate a lot of the.
Or 1 year? Let's start with 1 year then.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, I mean, 3 years is quite easy. Like, we would.
You need to survive 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, given that we survive, no, I think we're on kind of a good
I think.
track. But obviously, first is kind of really solving the immediate pain points of our customers, which is enabling them to build these solutions or get to these insights as fast as possible, as cost effective as possible, so that they can integrate this data within their workflows. Like that's kind of the immediate thing. The next kind of stage is basically simplifying this further, or even for industries that are time critical, is to be able to even come closer to the real time aspect that you were discussing or mentioning earlier. But kind of a long term goal, what we see is that we have I wouldn't say finger on the pulse in that case, but we do bring that kind of space heritage and that hardware side of things with the software world. Both sides of both industries are being transformed and moving at a super fast rate. We're seeing how the whole space ecosystem and now compute on orbit, data centers in space, that whole kind of thing moving, and then we see how agentic AI and AI is disrupting the software world, and we're able to be in that very unique position that we're bridging both. So over 5 to 6 years, and or even beyond that, we're seeing the whole downstream value chain being completely redefined from just being provider shooting down, kind of like downlinking a lot of data that is stored somewhere for someone else to then use that data to build some analysis, share it with someone as a report. That it's a very, if you think about it, it could be significantly simpler. You mentioned navigation systems and GPS or so on. We use it every day. It's satellite data. You don't kind of think much about it. I think we're moving into that kind of direction where it's going to become simpler and more applications. More people are leveraging this type of data just like any other type of data. It doesn't have to be siloed in a separate container. You need specific tooling. It will be kind of more democratized in a way.
And what would be the biggest threat to get there, to that vision?
I mean, there are quite some milestones tech-wise. So obviously, on how things are developing on the hardware side, with the operators, how things are evolving there in terms of technologies that are not directly something we're developing as a core, but like direct-to-device technologies, etc. Things that we would need to be there for you to be able, for example, to get near real-time or real-time insights. So there's quite a lot that we cannot really influence. But if everything is ideal in a perfect world and these technologies are in place, then things could be significantly accelerated. We're quite cautious also, just kind of a remark on how, like, I can say that our very first initial idea was, hey, just put this in the hands of everyone, let everyone just build with satellite data. But then we're also very cautious on who gets access to what, especially when it comes to high resolution imagery or such imagery that could be used for some applications, just to kind of keep it some way controlled. It's quite crucial for some applications. And that's why we kind of like hit the brakes on that a bit. We wanted to solve that pain point for the larger organizations before kind of figuring out how we can empower more people or democratize some aspects of that, put it in the hands of a wider audience.
Because are you also already in the dual use thing? So are you working with anything related to defense or not yet?
No.
Because I guess that would be the standardization of the information and the data. It would be completely different, I guess.
It's definitely, it's a whole different beast. We're using the commercial side as proof points. A lot of the things that would work for them, especially in terms of how secure the whole thing end to end is, where things are being processed or computed, where data is stored, that these aspects could then be completely carried over to some degree into government related applications. And with government, it also doesn't have to be immediately defense related.
Got it.
But yeah, right now we're super focused on the commercial side though.
Yeah. So then in 1 year or 2 years, you need to come and tell me how it went.
Sure.
And with a lot of money in your pocket and with a 100 FTE team already.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, nowadays you could do so much with less.
I was going to tell you, I was thinking that maybe actually there's not a 100 FTE team because you don't maybe need that number of people.
Yeah, not like, at least that's not what we think. You could probably do so much now with a 30 something FTE team, and could be competing with the much bigger companies that are out there in the market. I think right now there's quite a lot that you can. It's almost like technology is empowering people to almost be like superhuman in some degree. So it's not really about adding more people on the team.
Yeah, awesome. Then Dr. Labib, I should say like that. Thanks a lot for coming, and I think we should do a follow-up.
Sure.
To see how it evolves, because I think this particular sector is going to change a lot, especially what you said regarding the amount of available data outside. So a lot of solutions will build on top. So if you're fast enough, you probably can be on the web you're already, so you can stay there. And it's going to be interesting also with the closing of the round and everything. So yeah, see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot.